Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life can be a little bit miserable and life can be a little bit dark, so we are here to bring you as much light and as much joy as we possibly can. Once again, I'm Bradley and I'm joined by Stu. I've got no pithy intro for you this time, so how are you doing, Stu?
Not bad, not bad. Pith is that stuff from like oranges and lemons and stuff, isn't it? It's that white stuff.
Yeah, but I also don't know why. I mean, pithy. I don't know why. Also, it's also in terms of like short and slightly comedic sentences. I don't understand.
How the two link up is not clear. No,
Almost like language is made up, Stu.
it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Which makes it really bugs me, right? Because I've got an irrational hatred of the word addicted.
Oh yeah,
Because it's not a word, right? Someone's just made that word up. But then I will be the person who goes, yeah, but all language is made up, so...
yeah. Apparently, addicting predates addictive, which I didn't know.
Really?
But yeah, but I still find it irritating. But you know,
because it's usually used by stupid Americans.
oh,
Not the intelligent Americans, just the stupid ones. I'm not saying...
what you mean, like our listeners? Yeah.
Yeah, no, not the intelligent ones. Usually the orange ones, the pithy ones.
That was a nice callback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it's like with him, it's like, yeah, he's got orange on the outside to make you think that, you know, he's healthy, which he isn't. But underneath is a load of useless white stuff. So that really is pithy.
He literally is an orange.
Yep.
Do we comment on these quote-unquote assassination attempts? Not really.
No. Is it even worth it?
Staged? Who knows? Who cares?
I think we're all burned out, aren't we, on it now, completely?
I think the general reaction was, oh, really? All right.
I know. I remember when Reagan got shot, and that was like in the news for weeks, obviously, because it was a president who had got shot. And now it's just like, yeah, was he? All right, fair enough.
Yeah, but such is the world we're in now. Is people going, did it really happen? Yeah, well, all right, maybe. Who cares?
Exactly.
Wake me up if it actually happens.
Yeah, definitely. Wake me up immediately. I don't care what time of the day or night it is. As soon as it happens, wake me up.
I am going to defend him, though. Like, one and only time.
What?
Like, so there's a lot of outrage, because obviously Charlie Boy's gone out to America, hasn't he?
Yeah.
There's a lot of thing about how Trump's broken royal protocol because he dared touch Charles on the arm, right? Like an informal way, rather than how the kid is meant to be treated. And this is the one point where I just go, I don't see the problem. I really don't see the problem. He touched him on the arm. He might be aching, but he's still a person. Why do we have to treat them so specially? You know, you shouldn't need that level of you can't do this when you're with another leader of a country. That should be a lot more informal. So I won't often defend the orange freak, but I was like, that's nothing, burger. That touched him on the arm, big deal.
I hate all that stuff. I mean, I hate it so much. They're just human beings. Just let them be human beings.
They're lizard people, Stu. Come on.
Well, I know, yeah. Like, when it actually comes down to it, I want them all up against the wall and shot.
Yeah.
But, you know, until that time, they should be allowed to shake hands.
Oh, shake hands, I'll guide you through. I know it's a power move and it's the sort of thing he does, but it's just like, you can't just kick up a fuss because he's a king. Anyway.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Weird, but yeah, there we go. The episode where we defend Trump.
Yeah, and the King of England as well.
I'm not defending the king from England. Screw him.
Well, yeah. I mean, God, no, I hate it. But anyway.
Talking of things we don't hate, or do hate, maybe hate, depends.
What's that?
Video games.
Ah, the old video games.
The old video games. I've been playing lots. But, to save your ears, Stu is going to magically edit it in somewhere in this podcast, my quick fire reviews. Where he does it, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a mystery even to me.
Who knows when a play bus will stop? Look for the side of the lollipop.
Oh, God, that takes me back.
I could go E-Magic E and stuff like that, but I won't. So I'm going to ask you a question this week, Stu. What have you been playing?
Ooh, lucky me. Rarity. So I have been playing. Well, I haven't been playing this game because I played it weeks ago, and then I've had to sit on it because of release dates and stuff, and non-disclosure agreements and the threat of violence and all the usual that comes with reviewing games. Which it is very serious. And then I've been playing. In the past, I've been playing Aphelion, or Aphelion, I don't know how it's pronounced, which is the new game from Don't Nod. And yeah, it's a hybrid sort of, I don't know what you'd call it really, like a walking sim mixed with a bit of a platformer. And it sort of shakes out as being a bit like Uncharted if you didn't murder hundreds of thousands of people, right? Kind of thing. It's also a little bit Death Stranding-y. Not very, but a little bit. Like if it was on an ice planet. So I don't know, Hoth Stranding, let's call it. And yeah, what you do is the story, for the framework of the story is that you're an expedition, scientific expedition, that's flying off through space to a newly discovered planet called Persephone, which they're checking out to see whether it can sustain human life. And I'm sure the planet is like, oh, Jesus Christ, these humans here coming here, ruining our environment just like they did with their own place.
Yeah, take the vaccine quickly.
Exactly. So we're going there to muck up yet another planet, steal all of its resources, and use it as a kind of holiday home. But unfortunately, or from the planet's perspective, maybe fortunately, the expedition crashes and you get separated. It's a 2-person expedition and you get separated from your partner and have to reunite, and also have to solve like the mystery of the planet and also navigate all of its treacherous problems. And yeah, I mean, to do that, like I say, a bit Uncharted-y. So you're doing a lot of climbing. You're doing a lot of kind of jumping, leaping, swinging, all of that kind of stuff, with hazardous obstacles and things like that. And it is mostly an ice planet, although there are sections of it that aren't, which I won't spoil. And you switch between 2 characters infrequently. You're mostly playing the single lead scientist, who's called, I want to say Amelie, but it's not Amelie, something like that. And they are the more swingy, jumpy, athletic one. And then you play another scientist who's more of a considered slow, because he's injured.
Okay, not mentally.
Guy. Not mentally, no. He's not a Trump, He's like a
Thomas.
That's right, yeah. And they're French, obviously. Well, or French extraction, because it's a French company, so why not? And you do all that stuff, and it kind of leans much more into the story and the narrative than it does the sort of gaming experience. So the platforming is not particularly difficult. There are sort of fail states and things that you can do that that are not good enough, and therefore you fail. However, most of the time it's only if you're not paying attention. It's sort of comparatively formulaic, doing the platformy sections and stuff like that. Doesn't really have any puzzles. It has a little bit of kind of trekking around and backtracking to do little tasks that are around the environment that get you past certain obstacles and things like that. And as I say, it's more about the atmosphere and the vibes than it is about the gameplay. And they're done very, very well. The characters themselves are complex, and they're not just your standard running around shouting idiotic kind of supposedly intelligent but genuinely a bit moronic kind of characters. They're genuinely scientifically thoughtful, and they make good points about the system and the environment that they're in and all of that. And the overall story is kind of it's leans more into environmentalism than it does science, which works well. you're kind of unraveling little bits of the mystery as you go along, and there is an antagonist. Well, I won't go too much into that. It's one of those games it's very difficult to talk about without spoiling, because it's more of, like I say, it's more vibes than it is plot.
Yeah.
So if you explain too much of the plot, you're kind of giving everything away. That said, I'll go into spoilers for a little section, because I don't think you can really talk about the game without doing mild spoilers. So from this point, mild spoilers for Aphelion, or Aphelion, however it's pronounced. All right. So the big thing about the game is that you're separated, and that you're solving this mystery of why the planet is, why it has strange electromagnetic powers, whether those powers themselves are sentient or indicate sentient life, and also being pursued by an enemy that you don't know if it's whether it's just part of the planet and part of the environment and atmosphere, or whether it's a conscious action on behalf of the planet. Some of this stuff's answered, some of it isn't. I think that's probably to its benefit rather than detriment. So that's good. The big problem is, and this is the sort of biggest spoiler in a way, is the storyline is really reminiscent of The Invincible,
Yes.
which I played about 18 months ago, something like that. Based off a very famous book. And yeah, it is surprisingly similar. I was like, intrigued by this, just navigating this planet. What are you going to find?
Yeah.
What's going to be like? And then it's like, these plot beats are quite familiar to me. So that was a bit of a disappointment, but it is well acted and it is nicely laid out, the plot and everything. Okay, that's the end of spoilers. The game itself is, on a gameplay level, not brilliant. It's fine. It's acceptable. It's nothing new. Again, all about the atmosphere. Luckily, the graphics are exceptional. They're Unreal Engine 5, so they perform pretty badly.
Yeah.
And I had to dial stuff down quite significantly. But they do look really good. The art direction is lovely. I like the kind of the genuine sense of aloneness and how hostile the environment really gets. It doesn't feel like just a one-to-one with the earth. It feels very different without being completely alien. So it doesn't throw you out of the experience. It brings you in. But overall, I'd say it's an okay endeavour. It's probably not quite unique enough in terms of its plot to be a real standout from that perspective. And the gameplay itself is just fine. It's not anything better than fine. And I think, I don't know whether The Invincible stole its lunch, or whether, they were writing it with that kind of in the back of their minds, but didn't know the other game was coming out. But if you've played that, it's not going to hold a great many surprises.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say, really. Unfortunately, as a product, it comes out as just average, which is a bit of a shame. But, I mean, it's not... I would just say, if you're intrigued by it and you really like walking sims, then, tuck into it. If not, then wait till it's cheaper, I would say. Which is a bit of a shame, as it's a Don't Know game, and I hold them in quite high regard. But it's only really average, I would say.
Yeah, it's a tough one, really, because you're probably looking at it, from what I've seen of it and everything, because, well, I've not played it, so I can't comment on the gameplay aside, that it's come across to me as, if we weren't in this weird golden age of indie gaming at the moment, this would be quite a big deal. And it would be received a lot better. But as you said, we've got The Invincible came out last year, or the end of 2024, whatever it was, but fairly recently. And I'm wondering, my initial thoughts when I read the synopsis of this was, is this based on the same source material, but not directly? If they've, as the people behind it, have they read that, and have they gone, we can make a game based around that, but not have to worry too much about sticking to the source material, and just used it as inspiration, which I know that's what a lot of games and a lot of films do. And I think, maybe unfortunately for them, The Invincible as a game came out as well. One of the issues I have with anything that goes, and this isn't a don't nod problem, this happens in a lot of media, whether it be books, film, games, TV shows. Why are they only sending 2 people to this uninhabited planet to see what's going on?
Yeah.
The Invincible got it right. There were previous expeditions. So that got it right. You was on your own because of stuff, but there had been previous expeditions. Why are you sending... Because if something goes wrong, surely you need those 2 people to be able to get back. So you need a crew, even if it's a skeleton crew, to at the very least recover what is there, or at least help one person or to both people injured escape, even if you find nothing. That, you sent them on a one-way trip to basically death. And I don't know how the story goes, but, you know, how many billions of dollars or whatever was spent to sort of send them there, and euros, I should say, sorry, not dollars, my bad. But how many billions was spent to send them there with just 2 people? You know, all it takes is one to get ill and the mission's screwed.
I know, it's a trope in just about everything in science fiction, isn't it? You know, yeah, there's so many films where that's the case. Yeah. I think it was Saturn V might have that, and there's just tons of them. And you do think, oh yeah, you've built what's the metal? Yeah, Project Hail Mary, which only just came out. You know, I mean, that was supposed to be like a crew of 3 or 4. It's like, why only 3 or 4?
You've spent billions to do it. At least pay people, a few more people to go.
I know, right?
What's your job? I'm literally just here just in case. All right, that's fine. That's a job that you would need on a mission to an uncharted world.
Yeah.
What's your job? Yeah. Just in case they get sick and I've got to be a mechanic. All right.
Yeah.
Fine.
I'm the janitor. Yeah. You know,
what are you? I'm the
people need
janitor.
a janitor.
All right, that's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's weird because you won't also have 2 people that know everything, how to fly, how to be great scientists, how to be janitors, how to fix the toilet if the toilet breaks, and so on. The chefs. Yeah, it's always a weird concept, and it's the one thing that goes, they knew what they was getting into. I say I let them crash.
Quite right. Sodom. And I always think with these things as well, in the back of my mind, like I was saying before, actually quite glad that the human race isn't going to spoil another planet. It's just like one was bad enough.
Yeah. But it is a shame. Yeah. One thing, I mean, I'm assuming the one thing it does well is the character interaction. That is something it does really well.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's nicely written, and it does feel like proper humans and how humans would react, which is nice.
Yeah, even in Remember Me, which is the one that a lot of people point to as Don't Nod's worst output, which, again, you know me, I will defend that game to the hill. It's so much better than people gave it credit for. The story interactions and the interactions between characters was absolutely brilliantly done. You know, you could feel the tension between characters. You could feel that there was betrayal coming, and it made sense in terms of the relationships that were built up and where you could trust and how the characters trusted, even if you could see it different. They write so well, the people that Don't Nod. But yeah, I think there's a few. I think they've got their formula, which is the Life is Strange formula, which I think they've absolutely nailed. And I think, unfortunately for them, at their times of branching out, not quite working out for them, rightly or wrongly, depending on the game. But yeah, it's a shame. But I suppose for me, it's a curio. It's on my wish list for when it hits a good sale.
Yeah. I think a lot of issues could have been avoided if it was just short as well. You know, it's too long really for what it is. It does mean that you end up in a bit of a repetitive cycle of doing things because there's too much for that type of game really. Yeah, I mean, the Invincible was half that length, maybe even a third. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, no, but at least they're trying. That's what I like. They're making what they want to make. And it's not a badly made game, which is, again, I think that's always the criminal thing, if it's a badly made game.
Well, yeah, and also apparently it's day one on Game Pass, so they should have covered their costs already, and they should, it should get a fairly wide audience, which is good.
Fair play to them. Anyway, moving on from a cinematic Unreal 5 engine spectacle to something that's probably almost the total opposite. I've been playing Titanium Cult, which is a match-free puzzle game set in, I want to say it's set in an opera, but it's set in like a play where there's wars going on, there's a performance going on. It's like you take them through a story where you got to go into battle by doing match-free puzzles and sort of like mini tower defense type bits that go on and resource gathering. It's a really bizarre game where I don't want to say too much in terms of like the story beats and everything, because it's a bit like Hades in a way where everything you do moves the story forward. No matter if you do well or do badly, don't do anything at all, it moves the story in some fashion. But you go in and then you got this this performance that's going on. So you're kind of sat down in this theatre. And then someone comes out and you get told this is what's happened. They try to put it like, oh, this was a true story, but here's our telling of it. And it'll go blah, 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 here's some bits. And then you go, oh, we've got to go to war. And war happened and these battles happened. And it'll go to protect the castle. You know, we wanted like a water will help protect the castle from invaders because they can't get through. So you've got to do this match-free board while trying to keep like water around like your castle on this match-free board, and try to gather up wheat fields to make food. And then once you've done a certain amount of moves, you then have to select units that will go out and gather items or attack opposition like forces and stuff like that. And then you build up and then you try and get through and it progresses the story. It is really, really bizarre. It's such a hard sell to say to somebody, this is what this game is. Because I played it and the first 10 minutes I was on it, I was like, what am I playing? I do not get this one iota. And then the more you play, something clicks. We're not talking hours, we are talking minutes. It's like the first intro into it is so surreal. You're like, I don't know what, who, how, what's a puck? Why is there someone called Puck? Is this Shakespeare? No, it's not Shakespeare. So why is there someone? Okay, so there's a tiny hall now. I've got to go out and there's a war match free. I don't. Why is there a referee like an American football referee in this game? What and what? You literally spend a lot of time going. Yeah. Yeah, like that.
Like that, yeah.
That's to say, it's really surreal. And anyone who's into match-free puzzles, I think you are going to get some joy from this game. One thing it's got, and the reason I want to mention this, the soundtrack in this game is exceptional. I mean, really, really exceptional. To the point where I would say, even if you're not interested in the game, spend the £6 and get the soundtrack for it. The musical beats in it that accompany what you're playing, and then the interlude bits and where there's story beats and everything, it is just, oh my god. It's almost like chiptune music in a way, but it takes that and puts it into almost like this performance. You do feel like you're in a theatre watching a play of some description, with almost like an operetta, I would say. And it's just, the soundtrack on this is, the game's good, I like the game, but the soundtrack just elevates it to a whole new level. The visuals are really interesting. It's kind of got that really old Commodore 64 look to it. But feels like it's made with a lot of quality of life improvements of modern gaming at the same time. And I say that, along with the music, is just, wow, what an experience it is. And whilst I don't think it'll be Game of the Year contender for me as a game itself, there's just something about it that's got its hooks in.
Yeah, marvellous. Like, it sounds like a tough sell.
Yeah.
But once you're in, then it's really cool.
Yeah, there
I
was
like the look of it.
a demo for it. It was a demo for it during Steam Next Fest. There isn't anymore, which is a shame because I think this is a game that would benefit from having a demo.
Yeah, sometimes you just need an in, like an on-ramp, don't you?
Yeah.
For that kind of game.
Yeah. But yeah, I do highly recommend it. Anyone that knows how to play match-free games, like, and I'm not sort of about Candy Crush, so like knows they're match-free, then it's definitely worth picking up as something a bit different.
Marvellous. Yeah, it does look good. It looks intriguing.
Anyway, moving on, a little bit of a discussion. In fact, I'll tell you what, before we move on, I'm going to give you a good edit point, Stu.
Oh, thank you.
Quick roundup of the games I've been playing. So, as promised, some quick-fire reviews of some interesting puzzle games that have either just coming up or just released. And we're going to start off with Puzzling Places, which is a 3D puzzle game. So, back in, I suppose, like late 90s, early 2000s, we got bored of general 2D puzzle games, so they decided to bring out, was it Ravensburger, I think? Decided to bring out these 3D ones where you get like models of like the Tower of London and Big Ben, Houses of Parliament, stuff like that, and you put all the puzzles together. Well, this is basically this in digital form, and I've got to say, I'm really enjoying it. You get these little dioramas, and the game gives you some pieces that you've got to like put in the right places, rotate them, and move them to the right side, and build up these dioramas, these scenes. And it's a really interesting thing watching it come together, because you get like part of a building, part of a scene, and then other parts are broken off, and it looks almost eerie in many ways. But then you start building and layering it up, and you get these nice views of it that you can then look at afterwards. Not overly taxing, just literally just pure relaxation, putting some puzzles together. They're not difficult. In fact, as soon as you find the right sort of area for what you've got to put in, it almost snaps into place to make it obvious. It's not designed to be challenging. It's not designed to be difficult in any way, shape or form. It's designed just to be something that you can do in your spare time. A couple of hours in it at a time. There's not overly much in there, but it's a good time. Puzzling Places, and it's £7 as well, by the way. I have to say that £7. It works on Steam absolutely perfectly. It's just a nice one to have. You've got 10 minutes to spare, do a puzzle, put it down, carry on with what you're doing. Yeah, really worth picking up, this one. And that brings me to another puzzle game, because you can have puzzles about places and scenes and things like that, or you can have a puzzle game that's more about food. And that is what UMAMI is. You basically, it's a similar thing. You get given different food items, essentially, that you need to put together. So, like, the first one you get as an example in UMAMI is a burger. It's like with a cat bun on it type thing. And you get given all the blocks that you've got to then put in and try and recreate what this burger looks like. A little bit more challenging than Puzzling Places, because there is a challenge to this. So everything's just scattered everywhere. You've got to kind of look at what's what. You've got pictures you can refer to. And it will let you put things in the wrong place. So it's quite easy to get into a position where maybe you've put something in the wrong place and you've got to then take a load out and start again. You do get little sort of like notifications where you have got it right. So there are little clues there to know you've put things in the right places. And this one is a challenge. It does get more and more difficult the more you play. And whereas I think Puzzling Places, when I played that was really good in terms of UI and sort of how you move things around. This one is a little bit, you're fighting the camera a little bit. So you can't really just concentrate on the pieces and where you're putting them. You've got to fight the controls a bit, and then you're searching around a bit more for other bits. I do wish there was a way you could gather things up and maybe put them somewhere that's easy to get. to pick up, because you would do that in a puzzle. You go, some side bits, I'll put that to the side so I know where those are. Just something that allows a bit of organisation, because otherwise this is a very, very fun puzzling game. Again, it's based around jigsaw puzzles, and I think the 3D environments in this work really well. It's a beautifully coloured game. It's got a wonderful look to it. It's got like a chibi nature to it, which is really cool. It's very Japanese. You can tell it's very Japanese in nature with the type of food there is there, and so on. And yeah, it's just fun. It's another one that's, I think, about £10-12. And the game works absolutely perfectly on the Steam Deck. There's a bit more content in here in terms of challenge than was in Puzzling Places. And if you're into puzzling games, like jigsaw puzzle type games, well worth picking up. Moving on to not a puzzle game as such, I suppose, but more of a Balatro cross Scrabble. This is Beyond Words, which is from Steve Ellis and David Doak. And this is pretty much it. Balatro meets Scrabble. Now, we've seen a few of these type games before, but what Beyond Words does differently is it actually takes the Scrabble concept, where you get a grid and you've got places you've got to start. So a star you've got to go through to start, and then you can have different squares are worth different points and multipliers and things like that. And then you've had others where it's just about, here's these words, can you make a word? This is about linking words together and trying to get chains and all things like that as well. And like Balatro, you've got these like different power-ups you can get, some that increase your multipliers. They give you plus multiplier, times multipliers. They can increase the points cost of different letters. You can get different power-ups down onto the board. And then the idea is to link that up and go up through the levels, getting higher and higher scores. The better, then you get better rewards. And the idea is to scale until you pretty much break the game. But rather than being like Balatro, where you go again and again and again and again, this almost has a one-off run through it. So you start off and you get one that's maybe a very basic Scrabble board, and then you might get different themed ones. So you'll get one that's got a timer to it. So you've actually got to get scores down within a time limit, which is it's an interesting concept that adds to the game, and I really like it. So you'll make a word, and then you've got another 10-second countdown to make another word. So you've got to quickly think on your feet. Other ones that add different debuffs to the game and different rule sets and things like that really keep things fresh. The problem with this, to a degree, is that I found this almost one and done, whereas Balatro and the likes are over and over and over. I think once I went through this, I felt I had everything I wanted to from the game. Now, that's not to say I didn't get value from it, because the later levels are very, very difficult, and you've got to try and sort of like really push through them. And each level you do, it's not just one level. It's like maybe go through 5 different stages in that level before taking on a boss, and then go through another. So each level it's got is actually well paced out. But again, once you're done, you're done. I would like to see maybe some kind of endless mode added to this, or something just to sort of add to the longevity and bring it a bit further. But to say, Beyond Words is a very good game if you're into Balatro style games, deck builders, but you are into words. This is another fantastic addition. And finally, for this quick roundup, is KuloNiku, which is, I'm really not quite sure how to describe this one. It's a cooking game. It's a cozy cooking game. And I assume I'm pronouncing it right. KuloNiku Bowl Up, I think is its full title. But basically, you have to manage a restaurant and prepare meals. So it's a bit like Cook Serve Delicious, but not in that the way they did it, where it's just like bang, 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 pushing combos, almost like a fighting game combo. This is probably more towards a fast-paced cooking mama, I think is the best way I could describe it. So you've got this restaurant, you've got to prepare these meals by doing different actions, so cooking, flaming, chopping, mixing, all the different things you'd expect when doing a cooking. And what it is, you're doing it in battles. And I like this idea in cooking games. I liked it in Battle Chef Brigade, where it was battles to try and not only complete the puzzles, but it was to try and battle and do better than the other person, present the best meals. And this is what this has got. This all is kind of based around doing these battles, prepping, cooking, serving. You get rated, and the idea is to win. And then your prizes from that are different upgrades. You can sort of upgrade and customize your restaurant, which is really good. And there's different characters that will come in, and you get to interact with them. It's kind of got that story mode that games like to do. But it's really interesting. It took me a while to get into this one because even though it's Steam Deck verified, I got this early and it just wouldn't work. It is now, whatever they've done to it since release, it now works absolutely fine on the Steam Deck, and it's an absolute joy to play. Now, I will say I've probably not given this as much time as it deserves, and I will go back and play more because my early couple of hours in this game that I've had are really, really fun. It's fast-paced. It's some of the food dishes are really interesting. You get the people you get to meet are interesting. And yeah, really worth picking up if you're after a decent cooking game. But that's it for now. That's 4 games knocked out of the park here, of which, I don't want to spend ages talking about, but I think the ones that are worth picking up, especially if you're into sort of puzzle games and builders and things like that. So yeah, check them out. And now back to the show.
Excellent.
There you go. That was the games I've been playing. And we are now back to the show.
Marvellous.
As I said, at the end of the games I've been playing. But I do want to discuss Pragmata. You spoke about it last week, which I purposely didn't listen to because I was at a point I didn't want any of the game spoiled. I didn't know where you were in the game. So I haven't listened to it. And I also know now you've not quite finished it, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. So we're not discussing the game itself. What I do want to chat about is still the discourse around the game, both the positive and the negative of it. So we'll start with the negative and the general reaction to the game, and that's the way people were talking about the developers and how they've created Diana, what that means, and I've seen people talk about it as a dog whistle to paedophiles and stuff like that, and I'm just like, what? Something to do with the tears emoji or something is a dog whistle for paedophiles? I'm like, I didn't even know that. If you know that,
no.
Then what is wrong with you?
Yeah, I've got no idea. I'm not just saying that. I've got no clue.
I'm just like, it's just a paternal relationship thing going on. What? This is Capcom as well. And my fear before I played the game was Capcom trying to deal with children. Oh, Japanese company and children. Where could this go? None of that. This child is not sexualized in any way, shape, or form in this game. And it's just like, I don't know why people are going down that route. And then I've seen people going, men who play this game are creeps. And I'm just like, what? Why? And again, if you're seeing a message there that's anything other than this paternal relationship going on, that builds very slowly throughout the game, then what does that say about you?
Yeah.
Because I was playing the game and I went from, I'm enjoying this, let's see what the internet's saying. And then I looked at what the internet was saying and just went, huh?
No. Yeah. It's so bizarre. It is so bizarre. I think it's partly because the world of, not the world of video games, but the world of discourse around video games on the internet is so male dominated that they just don't have the emotional maturity, a lot of them, to understand what's being put before them. And most games are just, rugged lone man shooting stuff. Most games of this type, I mean, arcadey action games, and throwing in another character that isn't that has just thrown some people completely off the beam. And on top of that, you've got the people whose brains immediately go to something sexual, which is so bizarre. I mean, the first thing I thought when I saw that character was, oh, it's like Megan, from the film Megan.
Yeah.
Like, it's an android like Megan, a bit younger, but, pretty much like that. And, will it be scary, or is it going to be that it's kind of scary? But the game actually really handles really well the fact that this isn't a person, but that you want to care about it. It's how you form bonds and attachments to things that aren't necessarily real, and what constitutes being real. And this isn't a new phenomenon by any stretch of the imagination. It's been done billions of times in media, but it's always good to reevaluate, especially as the very setup of the game means that you're kind of codependent as characters. So it's asking a question about AI, like, is there value in AI because it can make our lives better? And then what responsibility does that give us towards these things that have become semi-sentient?
Yeah.
All these sorts of questions come to mind. Not anything about anything sexual.
No. Where I think the game's very well written is you're not just a protector of Diana. Diana is a protector of Hugh at the same time, which is a very interesting dynamic because, you say, one without the other is useless, would not survive.
Yeah.
And what I thought was really interesting, that they didn't go for this trope, and I was expecting this at the very start. This isn't a spoiler for anyone because it is at the very start of the game. I was expecting it to be, an android killed my child back on Earth or something like that. So something silly. It was like, I don't trust androids. And then he would grow to trust the android over the game. There's none of that. It's just straight away, I need this. And it is a tool to start with for him. I need this, but their relationship builds instantly. There's no winning over of trust and stuff, which I felt was a really clever and interesting way of writing the characters.
Absolutely. I thought it was really good. I thought particularly how it's a really simple premise. But it speaks to the value of good writing and good character dynamics, and how it doesn't really matter what kind of story you're telling, how simple or how complicated. If you get the characters right, then a lot of that will just flow from it. This is essentially two people need to escape from the moon. And It doesn't really get any more complicated than that. And, there are plot beats on top of it, but that's the central core, and it doesn't really change. And, it's a testament to how well the game is written, that it's a great game, but it also has a really strong story. And I think, that's, again, backhandedly criticising Aphelion, but that's the problem with Aphelion, is that it has a good story, that, maybe a little bit too well trod at this point, but it misses out because the gameplay itself doesn't really work that well. There's a lot to recommend Pragmata. It's such a shame it's got tied up with anything negative.
Yeah, and it is that there is this negative discourse. I think you could avoid it, luckily. I kind of happened into it and went down a rabbit hole going, surely this has got to be one view. And I saw there's lots of discussions about it. And I've seen some people go like, people because they want to see a certain type. It's, it's not as if it's, it's not the same controversy as having a black character or a trans character. And I'm just like, but even that, why you got to bring, like, I've seen people use it, I go, why have you got to bring black and trans people into it? What weird comparison to make as well. It's just really, really weird. and it takes away from what I said. It's an exceptionally well-written game, and one that I can see being optioned somewhere down the line, or at least floated to a TV company or a film company or something, such as how well it's written. And surprisingly, it's well written from Capcom as well, and well acted from Capcom, because Capcom games are video games.
Yeah.
It's the way I'll put it. They are video games, Capcom. Even the Resident Evil series and stuff like that. And the acting's never been great in them. They've always been hammy, whereas this feels very understated in terms of the way it's acted, despite it being a huge, amazing spectacle of a scenario. But I think the thing that's going to sit with me the most on this, and I'm really pleased, we're in 2026 and we've got a brand new single player IP based off of nothing in the past, and it's a success.
Yeah.
How refreshing is that?
Yeah, God, absolutely. Yeah, it's so uncommon these days. It's so uncommon. I was really glad to see, unfortunately around the same time, but Saros coming out by Housemarque, because that's a brand new IP, and it makes it seem like they're all over the place, but no, they're not.
No.
Yeah.
Although the thing with Saros and Housemarque, and this is going to sound weird, it's a Housemarque game, and Housemarque almost are the IP.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like Don't Nod are the IP.
Yes. Yeah.
You hear Don't Nod, I'm expecting a certain type of game. So yeah, it is I get what you're coming from. It is a UIP, but I've looked at it and gone, it's a Housemarque game. I know what I'm kind of expecting: fast paced action, potentially some bullet hell, whatever going on in there as well. And but yeah, it is a UIP, and I think that looks like it's set to be a success. But I say from Capcom, again, corporations aren't our friends, but of all of the corporations in games, they seem to be the one who care most about art and still making games.
Yeah, I think they do an exceptional job of blending the cinematic and story-driven narrative game that is still essentially an excellent arcade game. I think they got inspired by Shinji Mikami and never left that headspace. I think from the Resident Evil franchise onwards, and Devil May Cry sort of solidifying it in the 3D space when the PS2 came out, and it's got a lot of gameplay inspiration. I talked about it last week. A lot of inspiration from things like Lost Planet and Vanquish and things like that. But
Vanquish in space.
Yeah, and Dead Space as well, because it's been called Dad Space and stuff.
I love that. Yeah, it's not scary enough. It's just because of obviously how Hugh looks in his outfit. Yeah. But I love Dad Space.
Exactly, so do I. But even though it's got the DNA of different games, it's still in the great Capcom style. It elevates all of them. And yeah, I honestly think that Diana's a big part of that. A big part of giving some stakes and giving some proper feeling of threat, because you are essentially looking after a child who is also looking after you, which that explains the sort of parental dynamic really well too. So it does a lot of heavy lifting for a game that's quite simplistic on the outside, on the face of it.
Yeah, and it's very like when you play Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, anything like that that's had time to build, you've got a reason to sort of like, if you're into those series, a reason to feel for the characters because they've had time to build up. But to get that sense of connection with two brand new characters who don't come in with any backstory as well, again, just shows the power of what they've put together here. Because you do feel a connection with them from the get-go. And that's impressive. That is really impressive to do that. Because I know others have tried, and I'm like, why should I care about these characters? They've not given me any reason. They haven't given you a reason to care about these characters. But you do. And it's just from, I think, their interactions from the start. From the start, Hugh's just someone who wants to get out of there. And he finds this tool. And then, because of the way she's been programmed, this tool becomes more human to him. And it happens you can feel it happen very early. And again, by not making that drag out, you don't get bored of that dynamic. It's just what's interesting to me now though is what happens next with this. Is this a one and done game, or do they try and franchise it? Now I won't go too much into that until you've finished it, and we'll discuss that further. But that is interesting. What happens with PRAGMATA moving forward?
Yeah, that is interesting. I would, I'm torn. I would like to see that gameplay come back. I think there's more that you can do with it even, and in different environments perhaps. But at the same time, you couldn't just replicate that dynamic or continue it. I would like to see something completely different from that side of it. Maybe playing with something, having a companion that's perhaps not, what's the right way of phrasing this? Not conventionally appealing, or difficult to interact with, maybe emotionally, maybe physically, maybe a combination of the two. Something that challenges how you approach those sorts of things. That would be quite a good way of doing it. But anyway, yes, an excellent game. I think it's only going to grow in stature over the coming year. I think it might win some awards because, it's.
I think it's up there for writing at the very least.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe. Do you know how we still go back and people do these dissections of Spec Ops: The Line and stuff like that?
Yeah,
I think this is going to be one of those games where people go back in like 10, 15 years time, people are still doing YouTube essays on this as a game.
Yeah, I think.
And you'll be going, oh, what, another one of these?
But no, you're right. It's come at a really good time as well, because obviously with AI being in the media consistently and people having a much better concept of what that actually means, it's a great time to start asking those sorts of questions. It's excellent. It's one of the best games played this year, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, with me too. It's still not my game of the year because that's still probably going to be Slay the Spire 2, but it's in the discussion right up there at the moment. It's definitely flown its way to the top, and yes, I think it's a very, very special game.
Marvellous. Me too.
Talking of special, I'm going to let you do a special outro. Or the usual outro.
Whatever my choice is. All right, I'll do a special outro then. So, two things. First off, I've got a new job, which is brilliant. So I've been stuck unemployed for about 8 months because of all sorts of challenges in the workforce and all of that. So I finally got a job, which is brilliant. And the mental health sort of stress, the mental illness that it can potentially cause is so high not having a job, because we have a society where we're just not, in the UK, we're just not properly protected against any of this stuff. So if you're in a space where you're struggling because of that sort of thing or anything else, then get in touch with us. We're always here to talk. You can do it most easily via our Discord channel. Check it all out on the website. Follow that. The other, what else could I say that's important? Oh yeah, I was going to also mention Patreon. We don't trumpet our Patreon very much, and we don't produce extra content particularly, but we have a very cheap Patreon, and if you'd like to support us, that would really help with our costs. So if you fancy it, please do check out, only if you can afford it, of course, if it's not going to cause you any issues.
Starting from £1 a month.
Exactly. Yeah, so just think about it if you can. Don't worry if you can't, but however you support us, always appreciated. And with that, I'll sign us off and say stay safe and stay sane.